Namaste. Audrey Forey Nittasnigasun. Hello, my name is Audrey Forey. Welcome to the webinar titled Using Literacy Centers in Classrooms for Educational Assistance. This is a presentation that was developed by myself and Virginia Moose. We are the Special Education Literacy Coaches. Welcome. Our workshop objectives for this webinar is to discuss the importance of centers. Number 2, to promote literacy centers during choice time and during balanced literacy time. And there will be a sample of a schedule provided. And number 3, some practical tips. Also some examples of literacy centers. So what is the definition of a literacy center? A literacy center can be described as a small area within the classroom where students work alone or together to explore literacy activities independently, while the teacher provides small group guided reading instruction. So that means that these students can work either alone or together, but they're working independently without any kind of guidance. The essential message is that we want the literacy centers to increase students' motivation to read. So as students learn and experience different reading, writing, speaking, listening, and working with letters and words, they intrinsically will develop a desire to initiate, to sustain, and to direct their own activity. Motivated students feel challenged, competent, and successful. Diller, 2003. Some of the characteristics of effective literacy centers. It's very important to follow some guidelines when you're creating those literacy centers. So looking at those photographs, as you can see, the most important is that classroom space. So looking at the photograph on the right, start with the student in mind. Plan what the literacy center is going to look like while you're keeping those students in mind. Think about the purpose of your literacy center. Identify where to create that literacy center. So if you are working, say you have a book center or a reading center, you want to keep your library, tucked away in a nice cozy corner with a sofa, so that the children, take their books and go and read in that corner. If you're going to be doing, say, an art center, you want to make sure that if you have a water station or an art station, that is located near a sink, if there's a sink in your classroom. Choose a theme or a topic or a focus of that center. So if you are doing a writing center and you're working on poetry, you want to keep the theme and the topics all designed to keep poetry in mind. Lots of poetry books, lots of examples, lots of writing materials, all the things that you need to create that literacy center. You also want to be able to introduce, model, and review the literacy centers each day before starting. Students need to know what they have to do during center time. So if you have a whiteboard, or you want to share your planning with the students, and that would be a good time. This photograph shows a teacher with her students. So you want to make sure that the literacy centers promote purposeful learning, provide interesting problems for children to solve, and the tasks are open-ended and responsive to different levels of learners. It should also be designed for children that they can figure out what to do and feel successful in their efforts. Teachers or educational assistants may provide modeling of the center for students prior to the students engaging in the activity. So you may have to model the center a number of times depending on, the student. Also the student who may have missed some school or a new student joining the classroom. So lots of modeling can occur at this time. If you're looking at evaluating or assessing the centers or the students, keep in mind that the monitoring of these centers or these assessments should be on specific performance tasks. So if you're looking to provide data on student literacy achievement, remember the center is for enhancing their skills. So whatever the teacher has been doing at the guided reading center or during the time with teacher, those centers are only there to enhance those skills while developing and building positive social interactions. So they're working together and they're building on those skills. The participation should be meaningful and purposeful, and it should be done on a regular basis so that the students know daily what's going to be happening. When you use your monitoring system or your checklist, ensure that the student participation in the literacy centers, how are they getting along? Are they needing extra support with the task? Ensure that you keep track of all the things that you are observing. And there's lots of examples at the primary pond assessment for literacy centers. There's a lot of examples for observational summaries, anecdotal notes for informal assessments. This is an example of a rotation board. So as you can see, you can cut and paste literacy center icons. Lots of different ideas online that you can get examples from. Teachers Pay Teachers is a really good area. You can get free icons. Assemble the chart according to your guided reading groups. So the teacher may have her assessments done on where the children are in regards to their reading levels and which ones they want to be grouped together. So if she wants to work on, say, word work or writing the room, LLI, Level Literacy Intervention, has lots of ideas, and she may be using those for her guided reading. Include groups according to the students' reading levels on the chart. So you want to use numbers, animal names perhaps, or colors. So red, orange, yellow groups. And you could even use the Cree language or your Ojibwe language to include in the group work which students go under which group. You can also put the students' names on popsicle sticks and slip them into envelopes. Move them as the students move from center to center. So there's lots of different examples online to look at rotation boards. This is just one example. Your teacher may use different ones. It's also important when you're using literacy centers to focus on timing. Now, when you're thinking of small children, you want to keep your timing to be short. Children have short attention spans, so 15 to 20 minutes per center. So that's from start to finish. Give them time to finish up, to complete their activity. If they don't have time, then you want to put it away, but you have to make sure that you give them enough time to transition from center to center. Students need that time to transition. That way, if you have a student that may be responding to new situations, a new center, they may be having a hard time. They may not want to finish up that center, So if you want that transition to be more favorable for everyone, you have to ensure that you give them some time to transition. And there'll be a short video to discuss the importance of transitioning later on in this webinar. One of the things that I'd like to just mention, if you're interested in learning more about temperaments, the literacy coach can share some more information on temperaments and looking at those from a child development perspective. We won't focus too much on temperaments for this webinar, but I just wanted to touch just a little bit on it. Temperaments are personalities. If we think of it as little personalities, everyone is born with these temperaments. Their temperaments are neither good nor bad behaviors. It's just the way we are. That's just the way we are. And as adults, we learn to cope, and as children, we need to help guide them a little bit. So some temperaments to be aware of for literacy centers might be persistence. So as you can see in the picture on the right, this little boy is painting. You know, you could see the persistence in his face. He's biting on his tongue. He really wants to get this painting done, and he's working very hard on that. And that's sort of a definition of persistence. There's also distractibility and activity levels. We also have regularity, adaptability, persistence, and intensity. So I use persistence there twice. These temperaments will be discussed a little bit more in the next slide. So the dimensions of temperaments, so just briefly just talk about these. These can range, there's a level. You can go either from low to high, for example. So if you look at the first one, the activity level. So activity level means children or adults, we see them in our everyday life. These are people who can sit for long periods of time, or those people that are always on the go. They're the ones that are busy, busy, busy. When you have an activity level from low to high, some people are low in activity, some people are high in activity, and those are the ones that always want to go. So when you think about that with children, we have children that are low in activity and children that are high in activity. And then the second one is regularity. So these are children or adults who don't need a routine. If in a certain group that are maybe perhaps at a higher level. Um, It's labeled clear. as a handout.